Hey guys, so welcome to In My Beauty Bag, the beauty of business with balance. I'm your host, Yamina Childress, founder and lead business consultant at Integral Start Consulting, Yanni Beauty, and Contractor AI. I am so happy, of course, to be here with you. Today, we're talking about doing things scared and knowing when to move on. And this is going to be a bit of a personal story, but also how that relates to us in our professional lives or our businesses. Before we get started, I want you to take a moment to get grounded. You can take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And before we jump in, I want to tell you what's in my beauty bag. The last time I did it at the end, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. It's all about confidence. That's what's in my beauty bag today. Confidence and the ability to be confident in yourself, knowing that you are making the right decisions for yourself. And even if you don't think you've gotten it right, that you also have the ability to get it right. And so today we're wearing confidence as our beauty tool today. And that is what's in my beauty bag. And so you can tell me what is yours. Fear is a part of growth. And so whether it's moving to a new city or pivoting your business, in this episode, I want to really talk about that. Talk about taking those big risks, leaving your comfort zone, and really betting on yourself. I did this more than once, but 20 years ago, I moved from Chicago to Atlanta. And then just recently, I moved to Atlanta and moved overseas. I also want to talk about how founders and entrepreneurs need to also recognize when change is necessary for them, how to navigate those fears, and why sometimes the best plan is to have no backup plan. Yes, I said it. I know everybody is like, I have a plan B, a plan C, a plan, all the way through D. But sometimes all of that planning is not the best route for you. So I'm going to give you a little personal story. When I was 23, I believe, I could have just turned 24, but I believe I was 23. I packed up my bags. I had a toddler who was 3, and I moved from the Chicago area to the Atlanta area. And that was major for me. It was major for me because if you don't know my backstory, I dropped out of high school, and then, I had a kid, dropped out of high school, and then went to put myself through the community college. And I did that actually before I moved to Atlanta. And I remember when I was younger at that time that I wanted to move to Atlanta because I'm like, they have schools there, I can, put myself through school again. I can get a bachelor's degree. I just heard and saw so many things when I came to Atlanta of Black professionals being doctors and lawyers, and really wasn't a thing that I saw a lot where I was from, not in the city of Chicago, but right outside of it. It wasn't as common. And so for me, that was just like so eye-opening. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I remember people asking me, are you scared? Are you scared? Or they would say, but you'll be back. You're coming back home, And I don't know. I don't even remember fear at that time, because for me, I remember that I knew that the decision I had made to move was a decision that I felt was best for my life and my child's life at that time. And so I didn't operate on fear. I did not create a backup plan of I'm going to quote unquote move back home if it doesn't work. And so I just went for it. And so I moved to Atlanta, and I would say it was really great. While it was really great, I did end up, going back to school. I went to Georgia State, and I went there only for a semester. I was going to go get my bachelor's degree, and then realized that the campus was so huge that I really didn't, feel in place. And I was a non-traditional student because I already had a kid, and so even though I was younger, I had a child, I had my own home, and so I had to kind of go back and forth to campus instead of living on campus. And so after a semester, I remember leaving there, and then I went to school online, and a few years later, eventually got my bachelor's degree. I had still been running my business. I believe at that time I had started doing taxes maybe when I was about 18. And so it became a thing that I did every year. It was kind of my, people call it a side hustle, but it really did make me good money. And I continued to do it. And then I ended up working for the IRS, eventually going to law school. After resigning from the IRS in 2010, I went to law school in 2011, graduated from there. And so have a doctorate in law. And then, over the years, just really built up my business. I hadn't worked for anybody, since that time. And I spent a lot of time, developing myself and hopefully passing this on to my children, which I believe I have, because they are so entrepreneurial, they're so independent, and I so love that. But the thing is, I never during that time thought like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'm moving back. Because the thing is, I knew that I would just create a home where I was at, right? I knew that opportunities lie where we're at and where we're going, and we can create those opportunities for ourselves. And so my only plan was to make it work. And sometimes that needs to be the only plan. And then just recently, just a month ago, and I talked about this in another episode, I moved across the world, and I now live in Portugal. And so last year, I decided that I was going to move to Portugal, but just a few years before, I had already known that I was going to leave the U.S. I didn't know exactly where I would go. Me and my children, we travel a lot extensively, from country to country, really filling it out. Some things were just fun to, be. Some places were beautiful, but not every place, of course, was the place. But when we traveled to Portugal, we realized this was it. And so started to make that plan to go to Portugal. But the plan was to go to Portugal. The plan was not to go to Portugal, and if it doesn't work out, pack back up and move back to Atlanta, right? And so, still in the process, selling my home, sold all my things, gave things away, and I'm literally starting over from the beginning, running a company remotely, and it is a whole thing. But I also was not scared. And even if I was, I knew that the scariest part would be the most rewarding, right? I knew that the scary part was leaving my comfort zone. But the reward is being able to be in a place where I feel safer, where I feel welcome, where it is absolutely beautiful. The weather is great, and so the scary part is actually the part that I absolutely love and cherish. And even though it's only been a month, because I am who I am and I don't let fear hold me back, I know that whatever happens, if it's not to the best of, my thoughts, that I will have to deal with it and make it work, right? These changes from Chicago to Atlanta to Portugal, they impacted my professional life, my businesses in different ways. But in both ways, they gave me opportunities that I really hadn't thought about or really imagined. Like, I thought about it, but I didn't really see it, right? And so from Atlanta to Chicago, I told you I had just got an associate's degree. I had never thought just in a few years I would be going to law school, and I did and graduated. Coming from a few years ago, I knew that I wanted to make Yanni Beauty, our beauty brand, an international brand. But I just didn't know exactly, how I would fit that into like the things that we were doing at that time. And then I found, when I decided that we are going to move here, it gave me that kind of like courage to, be strategic and figure out a way to bring this internationally. And so, we started working to expand our business to the UK, and so into Europe, and then eventually into the EU where Portugal is located. And so that was a fun time. It was a scary time both times, I think, in the sense, maybe for other people. But for me, it was just that opportunity, right? It was an opportunity. And so thinking about all of that, I did this episode because I had, I've been here for almost a month, and just really thinking about how people sometimes let fear hold them back, but they shouldn't. I think we should all learn to do it scared. And this is in personal and professional life, but let's talk about it in the business sense. I think growth, and and even in the personal sense, growth doesn't happen from your comfort zone. And I know you've heard that. And I don't think until you get outside, kind of either force yourself or somebody forces you to get outside of your comfort zone, do you really realize that the true growth happens once you're on the other side of that comfort. If you give yourself the space to make decisions for your life and for your business that may not have 20 backup plans, right? Maybe it has one. Maybe you're just going to tell yourself it's going to work out. I truly believe that if we tell ourselves we're going to make this work, then we tend to make it work, right? If we give ourselves so many outs because of fear, we kind of, don't do it because we always know we have something to fall back on, right? And I think that we need to not have so many backup plans, because sometimes, even though it's uncomfortable, even though it's scary, you need to go forward, because the difference between, fear and doing it is just kind of like risks and strategic decisions within your business, right? And so in a business, in order to be successful, you have to take risk. You have to take risk of what product or service you're going to offer, what locations you're going to go to, who you're going to hire, what your brand is going to look like, right? But for you as a business owner, those risks should also be strategic decisions, right? They should be based on research. Like, this is a risk for my business, but I did it off of research. I did it because I feel that this is the best thing for my business based off of the data I was given, based off of the past experiences, the past sales, the past forecasts, what the market is looking like, right? We're making these strategic decisions, although risky. We're basing it off of some form of data that we know will lead us to the better side. And if we don't do that, we become paralyzed in the fear. And a lot of times when businesses especially become paralyzed in the fear of not adapting, we see that happen, right? Then they become obsolete. You see businesses, and I think I talked about this example before, like Blockbuster, because it's always a thing. I used to love Blockbuster when I was younger because I'm a movie buff and I used to love going to get the movies. And then streaming started to come out. Well, DVDs at the little red box, and then streaming came out, and instead of them taking the risk to pivot, even though they had already had the data there and what the people needed, which were movies, instead of them taking the chance and doing that pivot and taking that strategic risk, they end up going out of business. And I truly believe that Blockbuster, had they continued to go with the flow of what it meant to enjoy movies at that time, and even currently, that they could still be a powerhouse, right? And so I really want you to, think about this as we are discussing. Is there something within your personal life, in your professional life, in your business that maybe paralyzing you because of fear, and how you can start to just move through it anyway. When we make decisions to pivot our businesses or to move on, right? Whether that is closing your business, maybe it's a rebrand, maybe it's just doing something totally different. Like, for instance, Yanni Beauty had 2 retail stores, and now we're 100% online. And so even thinking about that, you may, feel like, is it a failure, or I'm scared to do it that way because this is not how I've always done it. But you have to recognize that your business needs to evolve, right? It needs to evolve with the times. You need to evolve with the times. And you recognize that a lot of times when you start to feel uncomfortable, when things just don't seem to go right, like things were flowing so well for your business, you were making so much money this year, and then something happened and things just slowed down. That may be a great time to reevaluate where you are in your business. Is it time to do something different in order to see that revenue come back up? If you had a service that everybody wanted, but no one's booking it now, maybe that service is something people have learned to do themselves, or they have decided that they don't need it anymore, they don't want it. How can you change your business model in order to meet people where they are? And so you need to think about those things. And again, a lot of those things are right in front of your face. Your data normally tells you you will have less clients. You may have less money coming in. You may get less partnerships or less funding. And then you have to see, like, wait a minute. It may be time for me to take a different approach with my business. Those are the signs that you really need to move on from that business model. But maybe you even have a business idea, right? You didn't even start the whole business, or you may have a location in mind for the business that you're starting. Even then, sometimes you have to stop. Even when you're, in your head, you're like, I know this is it. But then the numbers aren't adding up. The population is not your target audience. The idea has been tried and failed. Then you have to just kind of let go of those reins of fear of failure, maybe, or that you didn't do something right, and just kind of move on and or pivot, right? And you need to, it's better to fail fast, which means make those decisions fast before you lose too much. Either too much money, too much time, or too much of yourself. Learn to fail fast if you do nothing else in your business. Business moving on is just like moving on in life, right? It's just like me taking a leap to move to different places and, take my children here and do all of that. It is uncomfortable because even though I wasn't scared to make those moves, I found myself being uncomfortable for a while. Why? Because it may have been cultural differences. I have to learn my way around. Here I'm in Portugal, and while a lot of people speak English, this is a Portuguese speaking country, and I don't speak the language. And so being uncomfortable, not knowing how to speak to people, having to, get things translated, it's uncomfortable for me. But I am not scared, and I want you to navigate your business in such a way where it may not feel the best, but you can, push on through. The power of change can really help you gain new perspectives, and new opportunities. When I decided I was moving to Atlanta, I started to meet so many professional women that I truly admired. And it gave me so many opportunities to do the things that I never thought I would do. Like, I knew I wanted to go to law school when I was a little bitty kid, but I just really didn't see it in my for real future. But it really was like, yeah, you can do this, right? It gave me a whole new outlook on business because there are so many business owners in Atlanta. Just a little side note, I knew it was time to move because I saw that Atlanta became, it has become an ecosystem of business owners, but I don't think that it is for me, let me say that, for me, the place where my businesses will actually thrive. I think I can survive there, but the point of the business is to thrive. And so, moving along and going international is another opportunity for me to just, test and grow my business in a different way. Same thing as life. And so I think as founders, we should embrace change. This helps us stay ahead of, business. It helps us stay ahead of the game, right? Like if you are open to change, that means you are open to growth, which means you are open to staying ahead of things that are happening in the business world in your life, and it helps you not become stuck. It's like the resistance of being stuck, right? And some of the things that you can do, I think, to embrace change is to, and this is in your business life or your personal life, and to do it without feeling like you're losing something or you're losing yourself, is to make changes, first of all, based off of real research, right? Like don't jump into things just because somebody else did it or somebody else said it worked for them. As a business consultant, especially when I work with new businesses, maybe in the idea stage, I hear so many times that they said so and so is doing this business, this is why I want to do it. When I ask them, like, why do you want to do this business, it's usually because they heard somebody else do it, the person made money quickly, they look really successful. But I challenge you to make your business decisions just like your life decisions off of true research, and also what feels authentic to you. And that's how you don't lose yourself, right? Because something, for me, let's say I am not a salesperson. I am not going to sell anybody anything. It makes me so uncomfortable. But I am a very creative person. I am very authentic, so I can just talk to people from that perspective. Even being an introvert, just, telling them what I know, for instance. And so in my consulting business, it's easy for me to share this information because I love to see people glow up. I love to see people win, but I don't want to try to sell it to them, right? I want you to want to grow in your business, grow in your professional life, knowing that you're looking for an expert to help you out. And then we have that conversation, right? It's me. I'm not the sales shark. And if you're not that person, don't do a business that makes you that person, because you're not going to be happy even if you make money doing it. And some things people can make look easy, like, creating content, for instance. For my content creators, they make a lot of that look easy, but it takes so much time to be really good at content creation and really let it resonate with people. And then you think about the editing and all of those things. If you are thinking about being a content creator, make sure that you're okay with the things that is going to take you to grow from just a content creator to a true entrepreneur in the content creation space, right? And so in all things, do it based off of research, do it based off data, and do it based off what feels good to you and not what feels good to, what other people say will work or be good for you, because we're all different. And even if we have the same types of businesses, we approach it with our own hearts. And so I want you to make sure that you're doing that. And so you write that down. What thing are you going to work on changing or pivoting or moving through, even with the fear, and then make sure it's in alignment with who you are personally. So before we jump off, I just want to truly say that I believe the only way to really know what's possible in your life is to go after it, right? Take the leap, do it scared, but do it anyway, because so many times people don't ever do that thing because they're afraid. And they just will never know all of the amazing things that can be on the other side of their fear. So you have to get through it in order to know if it's possible. So I invite you to take that on and see what you can get through and see the possibilities on the other side. And if you've been waiting for a sign to make a big move, this is it. So if it's a big move in your personal life, it's a big move in your relationship, it's a big move in your business. If you are looking for the sign, this is it. You can go from Chicago to Atlanta to Portugal. No sweat, right? And you can do it with fear. You can do it with a little uncertainty, but you can do it. If this was helpful, if you are going through some change, it doesn't even have to be a major change or a major move, but just something that takes you out of your comfort zone, let's talk about it. I want you to drop a comment. You can DM me. So if you are, on LinkedIn, my page is Integral Start Consulting. And then if you're on the YouTube or Spotify listening to this, or even on my TikTok, I am Yamina, send me a message, drop it in the comments. Let's talk about those big moves that you are making. So I can't wait to hear. Make sure that you share this with your other entrepreneur friends. Make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss an episode. If you have missed some episodes or you're new here, make sure you go back and listen to others, because I try to share information that I think can be very helpful for entrepreneurs, people, creatives, just in general. And so let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.